Terminator Dark Fate, which I think opened a couple of days ago. So I presume that after I've done this, we will have some emails about it. Am I correct in that?
I have one.
You have one? Okay, fine.
So if you've seen Terminator already, send us an email, mayo@bbc.co.uk.
Okay, so it kind of basically reunites Linda Hamilton and Arnold Schwarzenegger after a very long period apart. If you're a Terminator fan, it's no big surprise to say that Terminator 2 was the last properly decent Terminator movie. This is directed by Tim Miller, who made Deadpool, and it's produced by and story written by James Cameron. The writing credits are multiple, but James Cameron is kind of in the background of all this. As I said, not helming it, but producing and overseeing the story. So, some many years after Sarah Connor changed the future, a new super sleek Terminator comes from the future to the past to hunt Ramos, played by Antonio Reyes, who lives in Mexico City. He is pursued by Grace, played by Mackenzie Davis, who is an enhanced super soldier who basically pulls a Michael Biehn, as in going back in time from the future to stop the robot that's going back in time to do the thing to the past and to change the future. And their paths cross with that of Sarah Connor, played by Linda Hamilton. Here's a clip.
So you're here to protect her. What are you? Never seen one like you before. Almost human.
I am human. Just enhanced. Me off, so don't. Your turn.
My name is Sarah Connor. When I was about her age, a Terminator was sent to kill me, to stop the birth of my son, John. Leader of the Resistance. We changed the future. Saved 3 billion lives. You're welcome.
Without wanting to give away any more about the story, we know that other main characters, including Arnie himself, appear later on in the drama. On a sort of positive note, I think it's encouraging to see a mega budget film like this with a really sort of punchy heroine of the age that Linda Hamilton is, essentially as the central character of the film. It did remind me of how great it was to see Jamie Lee Curtis right at the centre of the most recent Halloween movie, which I thought was actually a pretty decent reboot, remake, however you want to call it. I mean, it's a sequel, but it's something that kind of revisited ideas from the first one. So that, I think, is a good thing, and it's also interesting that essentially you have 3 very, very strong female characters holding their own against insurmountable odds, and it's important not to forget just how significant the character of Sarah Connor was. I mean, you think about it in terms of Ripley from Alien, sort of in many ways, iconically redefining what was possible in very big, successful genre movies. So all those things are good. And all those things made me want to like Terminator Dark Fate. I wish it was a better film than it is. I think the best that can be said about it is this. It is the best Terminator film since T2. But that is pretty much the definition of damning with faint praise, because who remembers anything about Rise of the Machines or Genesis or Terminator Salvation other than the fact that Christian Bale went mad and had a meltdown on set and started yelling at the guy moving the light around?
I remember that.
Because he suddenly realised that he was in a film directed by McG and couldn't face the awful reality of it. I mean, there's been TV spin-offs which have done other interesting things with the story. And Cameron is quoted as having said of this new version that this recaptures the tone of the original. He says it has the same intensity, the same take no prisoners feeling, and the same sense of abject terror. Well, no, it doesn't. What it does have is reheated themes from the first 2 films that have become tied up in so many time loop knots in the interim that nobody, even fans, now find it hard to remember who did what to whom, when, how, and why. And why does any of it matter when in the timey-wimey time loop thing that we're in at the moment, we know that anything could be changed at any point by somebody coming back from the future and coming back to change, to affect the present, to change the part, and therefore make a new future. So there is this really overwhelming sense that the reason the film exists is because the Terminator franchise still has cachet and still has just sort of heft in terms of the industry itself. And you end up watching the story and being unengaged in it and thinking, oh, I remember seeing T2 and seeing that incredible, remember the fluid Terminator, the fluid metal
I
thing,
do.
which we hadn't seen. I mean, we'd seen it to some extent in The Abyss, but that it was jaw dropping. I mean, you have to remember what CGI looked like in the days when we hadn't seen all that stuff before. It was like Jason and the Argonauts, or it was like, special effects in the X. You simply had not seen that stuff before. And what that meant was you didn't stop and go, okay, but if it's fluid metal, then why does it matter how hard you hit it or how many things you run it through? Because it's fluid. It doesn't make any difference. And why is it taking the shape of a person anyway? Because the whole thing about being undercover really doesn't add up beyond act number 1. And why doesn't it just turn into a very long string river? And then it's like, why is any of this? And
I hadn't thought of that last one.
No, but you only start thinking that stuff when the story itself isn't engaging you. Why does it have an Why does it have a skeleton? Why does it have an exoskeleton? Why does the exoskeleton able to step out? Why? Whereas before you were just going wow, 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 wow. And wow turning to why is a really big change in terms of the visuals.
That's all you need to know.
The biggest question, I think, is that why does it exist? And I think it is in the end simply financial. There's nothing essentially wrong about movies existing to make money. But weirdly enough, Terminator is like Alien. Both Alien and Terminator were standalone movies that nobody thought they needed sequels. And the fact that they then produced Aliens and T2, both of which were arguably at least on a par with, if not better than, because so substantially different for the first film, but taking the ideas from the first film and then playing with them on a much bigger canvas, that's astonishing. But in the case of both Alien and Terminator, having got away with it so brilliantly with the second installment, nothing that came afterwards was necessary. And the very best you could say of any of the sequels after that is, well, they don't do anything to damage or unravel the mythology. I really wanted to like this. It was, the familiarity of meeting those characters again, because there was a point in my life when they were really important to me. I really wanted the jokes to be funnier and not to feel like they had just been sort of dropped in afterwards in a screenwriting conference. And I really wanted to feel that there was a sense of jeopardy. And I didn't. And I think that in the end, it is at very best the best Terminator movie since T2, but that ain't saying much.